What would you do if you sold an item for $158 and a few months later you found out it was worth $4.4 million? How would you handle it with the person you sold it to? What's up, guys? Welcome in to the channel. October 11, 2023, of course, and it's a gloomy Wednesday here in Florida. I gotta probably make this video a little quick so I can get home before that rain hits me on the golf cart. Yeah, we got an elderly couple out of France who found an ancient 1800s, 19th century African art mask, ritual mask, in their home while they were cleaning it out, an old home. And they took it to an antique dealer or a guy, the reseller guy, and he made a deal with them for approximately 158 US dollars. Now they're in France, so that's kind of translated into whatever it was. But that's what they agreed to. That's what they sold it to him for. And it turns out several months later, he sold it at auction for $4.4 million. Now, the elderly couple is suing him for fraud, for deceiving them on what the value of this mask was. And so I've got a few questions for all of you. I want you to answer for me down in the comment section below, and let's jump into it. Basically, I'll put a picture of it up here. What happened is this dealer got approached by this couple. He looked at it and everybody said that it really wasn't worth that much money. In fact, he went out and got two quotes of his own telling him it was worth somewhere between like $300 and $600. So he figured at 158 bucks, he could flip it for $400 or $500, make himself a nice little profit. Normal business deal, normal everyday business deal. And had that been the case where he bought this thing for 158 bucks, resold it for $400 or $500, those of us that do this on an everyday basis, we do this all the time. Make $100, make $200, make $300, less your fees, less your shipping, all that good stuff. Well, after getting his second appraisal, he decided to talk to their gardener at their house, which is kind of weird because I have a landscape guy. He does cut my grass and bushes and plant trees and did some landscape work for me and whatnot. He's even my neighbor. He lives in my neighborhood, a couple streets away. He doesn't know anything about me. I love Jonathan, great guy. I had beers with him at the lagoon when I used to drink. I used to hang out with him, but he doesn't know anything about my life. Well, this reseller asked the gardener the elderly couple's history, their family history, their descendants, where they came from, and he apparently knew enough that it tipped off this seller, this antique dealer, that this thing might be a lot older and a lot more valuable than they had originally thought. So he went out and got a third quote, and the third quote he got was somewhere around $300,000 or $400,000. So immediately he knew that this was crazy valuable and decided to take it to a professional auction house, get even more information and put it out for auction. Well, it turns out there's only about a dozen of these in existence. They're very, very rare. Well, at the point that he found out it was worth $300,000 or $400,000, he didn't tell them. He had already paid him 158. He didn't go back to them and say, hey, this thing is worth a boatload of money. Let me give you $5,000. Let me give you 10 grand. Let me give you 10%. Let me give you $30,000 when this thing sells. Let me work out a fair arrangement with you guys to get you a little bit of money, since this is worth a whole lot more than what we originally thought it was worth. And he didn't do that. And then at auction, it sold for $4.4 million. Somehow this couple figured out that it went to auction and he sold it for that. Again, he did not offer to pay them. Only at the point that they discovered that it sold for $4.4 million did he offer to pay them like $30,000, like a finder's fee or something, 30 grand, right? And so the question that I put to all of you fine young ladies and gentlemen is, when he discovered it was worth $300,000 or $400,000, should he have just said to them, hey, and maybe got it in writing, hey, I'll give you 10% of whatever this thing sells for, or I'll give you guys a one-time payment of 10 grand or 15 grand. Do you think that it was his responsibility to go back to them and offer them money? Because remember, they had sold this thing with no research, no knowledge. They didn't look into it. They didn't do the due diligence that he did. They didn't, dig into this thing like he really dug into it. Or do you think this guy was being, at the point that he figured out it was worth a lot more money, he was being totally suspicious, totally suspect, and just scheming them over and frauding them and scamming them when he realized it's worth a ton of money and he should be fair to them? My opinion, everybody's gonna ask me what I think. Here's what I think. When he figured out that it was worth $300,000 or $400,000, I think at that point he should have went to them and said, hey, this thing is worth a lot of money. It looks like it's worth $300,000 or $400,000. If I sell it for that, I'd be happy to give you a finder's fee reward, something fair. You know, maybe I can give you 5 or 10%. I can give you 20 grand and give you $30,000 when it sells. If it sells above and beyond that number, if it happens to sell for even more, you know, maybe I can throw you a few more dollars. I'm not going to give you half of it. I did the work. I did the due diligence. We've already had a deal. I'm not legally bound to give you anything more than I've given you, but I'm giving you this out of the good graces, you know, being a good person, good karma, all that stuff. You know, because look, $4.4 million is life-changing to a lot of people. It can be really, really life-changing. And even giving somebody 30 or 40 grand can change their life for a little bit. So I feel like he owed them a little something, but then again, the old saying is, if you sell it and you find out later that somebody flipped it for a fortune, that's your fault. You should have done the research, because if you did, you could have went and sold it yourself at an auction house. All you had to do is make the phone calls. All you had to do is send the emails, do whatever it took to get it out there. And they are an elderly couple, so I do understand that it's kind of not the same for them as it is for some of the rest of us, but they were capable of figuring out what he sold it for. I feel like they were capable of figuring out what it was worth before they sold it to him. So I'm kind of torn on that. I would have wanted to be fair to them and give them a little bit more money since I got a lot more money, but at the same time, I'm not really legally bound. Well, the couple thinks they're legally bound, or that he's legally bound to pay them, and they sued him. They actually sued him for $5.5 million. They sued him for the $4.4 that he got for the item and for $1.1 in damages, which is kind of weird. I don't know why they think they're entitled to even more, but that's odd. But anyways, it's in the French court systems. It hasn't been resolved yet, and while it's being resolved, the court seized the money, which is like $3.5 million or something, because he had to pay the auction house, which is usually like 20%. So the auction house took like 880 grand right off the top of there, and he had to pay the taxes and capital gains and all that stuff. So there was only $3.5 million or $3.3 million or something left over. They seized that money until the court case is resolved. Originally, the courts ruled in the reseller's favor and told the couple to kick rocks and to actually pay his $3,200 for a lawyer he paid to respond to their case. The court said they had no case against him. They sold it. It's a done deal. Pay his $3,200 lawyer fee, but they appealed it, and now that's where it's at on the appeal. So interested to hear what you guys think about this. Does he owe them money? Should he have rightfully given them more money when he found out later? Or was this a case closed, done deal, too bad for the sellers? It's life-changing money. It's not really fun or nice to think about, but it's a done deal. What do you think? What side are you on? Are you on the side of the reseller, the antique dealer, or are you on the side of the elderly couple that sold it to him? Can't wait to hear you guys' comments. Interesting story. I will definitely update it when and if there is a solution or a settlement or whatever comes of it. I'll keep an eye on it. I'll bookmark it on my news and all that good stuff. So appreciate you guys watching. Can't wait to read the comments and the answers and how you guys feel about this. As always, please check out the description box below. I'll put a link to the news story about this story where you can read more, and also a link to my website, www.ProEcommercelister.com, where we make listings. You never have to make another eBay, Poshmark, or Etsy listing again. We'll do it for you. All you do is send us your photos and we take care of the rest. Discount code down there with it in the description box as well with the website link. Make sure you get those listings for fourth quarter before we run out of time to make them for you by the end of the year. Appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like button, smash it, and subscribe to the channel for future videos. And I will see everyone next time, because I got to get out of here before that makes its way over top of me. See you guys later.